Hi, my name's Sinestra, and today we're going to be having a look at Deathknights. Now, I know very little about Deathknights, so we're going to get someone who does know a lot about them, and that's Trash. And he's in my guild, Eternals on Ghostlands EU. So we'll just kick it off. Say hi, Trash.
Yeah, guys.
Okay, so why don't we start off with sort of gearing and sort of like what you aim for with your gear, what sort of things are important for new guys to look at.
Yeah, I mean, the general rule of thumb at the moment with at least Frost Deathknights, which is the spec I play, is literally haste. Just get as much haste as you can. Haste means more, of course, rune regen. It means more killing machine procs. It's just an overall good stat to have. It's what you stack from the very start when you're in blues, and it's pretty much, I mean, it loses a bit of value later on in gear levels, but it will be above all else.
Okay, and would you say that Frost is probably the best spec to be going for the best DPS at the moment in Firelands?
Yeah, currently Frost Dual Wield is the top spec. Unholy is trailing a fair bit behind, and since the nerfs last patch, so is Two-Hand Frost. So Dual Wield all the way if you're looking for top performance.
Okay, so if we move on quickly to talents, now I do believe I have exactly the same talent spec as you, so what are really important talents that you need to make sure you have?
Yeah, I mean, there's the obvious ones from tier 1. There's Cold Steel, Annihilation, Endless Winter, or On a Pale Horse. Up to you. Depends if it's up to you whether you want less, if you're going to be interrupting more. Tier 3 and tier 4, you're going to have to take the whole fucking lot. Mm-hmm. I just swore.
Sorry, don't worry about it. They're grown-up audience, Trash, don't worry about it.
Tier 5, you'll take Hunger and Cold simply because you have to. It's not a choice that you want to have to make, but you've got no choice in the matter.
Yeah, shit, easy ever.
You take Improved Frost Presence purely because you'll be in Unholy Presence the whole time, and the Improved Frost Presence allows you basically to keep the rune regen from Frost whilst in Unholy Presence. From second to last tier, you will, if you're dual wield, you would take Threat of Thessarian. If you're two-hand, you'd take Might of Frozen Wastes. Threat of Thessarian basically just means you'll be hitting with both weapons.
Okay.
And of course, last tier is Howling Blast. Spare talent points you'll have to put into either Runic Power Mastery or Icy Reach. Mm-hmm. I'd recommend Runic Power Mastery simply because it means more Frost Strikes, which is more win. Any spare ones you can dot around the blood from the Unholy Tree. Common build is just Butchery, Bladed Armor, and Improved Blood Tap with Virulence, or you can go for the longer Disease Time, which is the Epidemic build, but that's becoming less and less popular.
Yeah, I've gone for 3 points in Virulence just to get that disease damage up a bit. Is that probably a good choice as well?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so if the next thing we have a look at is Reforging then. So I introduced in my last video Reforge Lite to most people, so if I pop that up, now I've got the stats weights that Trash recommended in here already, but do you want to just point out anything that's really important that's like really to make sure that people get and understand?
Yeah, I mean, obviously strength comes above all, so if it's a higher item level, just go for it. Then really you need your hit and your expertise caps, otherwise you just won't be obviously hitting. Everything else is wasted. Okay. It's only the soft caps you need. Hit after cap does have a weighting, but it's underneath crit, so it's really, if you can get rid of hit after cap, just it's best to do so. Okay. In terms of haste versus mastery, haste is actually very close to mastery. Mm-hmm. So once you have the amount of haste, I can't say because it's different for every Death Knight how they're set up. Yeah. Once you have enough haste that you're comfortable playing with, I'd prioritize mastery over haste. I mean, you shouldn't really technically do that, but I've found it yields better results, essentially.
Okay.
So, essentially, like if you're on, say, 14.9 mastery and you can just drop a little bit of haste to tip that over for another 2% frost damage, I'd recommend you do it.
Okay. Now, with regards to gear, as most of us always agree, it's more the player than it is what gear you're wearing. But in specifically to Firelands, you're wearing your 4 set now. Is it something that's really worth rushing for 2 set, and is 4 set something you should grab immediately?
Yeah, I mean, the DK 2 and 4 set, it isn't. I mean, both together, it's probably about a 3% maybe DPS gain on offset gear. Well, I say offset gear, I don't know about current offset gear, but I mean without the bonuses. Because, I mean, they're not amazing, but the gear is well, itemized.
Okay.
So it's best to go for your current, your tier.
Right, and so you're currently not wearing the chest piece. Is that for a reason? Is there something that's better than the chest?
Yeah, on normal mode, the chest off Major Domo is currently much better itemized than the tier chest, so it's better to go for that.
Yeah, so definitely worth saving like your DKP or RPG for shoulders and head.
Yeah, that is your best offset piece. Yeah.
Okay. Other than that, sort of like specifically any pieces of gear that are really worth getting your hands on, like anything that you definitely recommend getting. Like you, for example, have the trash axes from Firelands. Are they the best in Slim?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they are the best current weapons for Frosty or Deathknights. You've got their highest item level unless you upgrade them to heroic, and they're pretty much what you should be after. The only other piece of gear that you really need, I would say, to optimize is Heart of Rage heroic. Even the normal version is better than a lot of current tier trinkets.
So that's from Chimera and heroic.
Yeah.
And just quickly, last point on gear. With weapon enchants and stuff, what do you need on your main hand? What do you need on your off hand?
Yeah, Razor Ice on main hand, Fallen Crusader on off hand, purely because Razor Ice increases the amount of frost damage you do, and you hit harder with your main hand. So that's why it goes there.
Okay, right, what we're going to do now then is we'll head over to the training dummies and we'll have a look at rotation. Okay, so we're here at the target dummy now. I've got my second fucking Wolfie character out again. Crits just too OP. So if we just go for first, talk about buffs, like what flasks, what foods Deathknights should be using and stuff and things like that, and if they should be asking for any specific rate buffs.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of self buffs like food, flask, just standard melee DPS, you want the beer basic Crocodile for the 90 strength and the Titanic strength flask 300. In terms of buffs you should actually be after, if there is a warlock in a raid that you can somehow trick into giving you DI, do it. It is a DPS increase, although Boomkins and Shadow Priests everywhere will cry.
Yeah. Stay away from my fucking buffs.
And actually, since the threat buff Blitz is implemented, we are no longer really an issue on the threat meters. So you can ask for tricks once again. So that's 15% extra damage for 6 seconds every 30 seconds if you can get a rogue to do that on you. That's what I ask for every time.
Yeah, we've got a couple of rogues that are already brute. It definitely makes a difference. We've got a couple of them rotating on and off you. So the next thing we'll do quickly then is, standing obviously at the target dummy, all reforged, all sorted, what we're going to do is, if we're going to go through the rotation, so I'll do firstly we'll go through it really slowly, secondly we'll go through it at speed. Okay, so if we want to start off then Trash, you're going to walk us through it as to what needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, standard rotation really. I mean, it's been really simplified since the Blood of the North buff, so it's just start off with Outbreak, get diseases on target. You'll want to just obliterate away your runes. If you get a Rhyme proc, use it. Will refresh Frost Fever, of course. You want to frustrate away any excess runic power. Should you not get a Rhyme proc within 30 seconds and your disease is about to run off, you will have to refresh them manually, but it's not the end of the world. If use Improved Blood Tap, because that's the build we've gone to, use Blood Tap on cooldown if it's reasonable to do so. Essentially, if your runes are all depleted, you should use it whenever they are, and it's off cooldown. Other than that, it's just managing your cooldown sensibly and using Horn of Winter when you've got nothing else to do. So it's really simple.
Okay. And with regards to like big cooldowns like Army of the Dead, Ghoul, sort of when should those really be used?
Yeah, I mean, there's only very few fights when, like, say, last 20% on Chimaran where you would pop Army at that time. Usually Army would be popped at the start of the fight, and the way I work my cooldowns is because I'm using the apparatus of Khazgaroth. I have to wait for that to stack up to 5, so I put my cooldowns then, but generally it's just when you have, say, heroism, anything like that, or if you know you can fit in more than, say, one cooldown of your buff before heroism, then you just use it sensibly. There's no really fixed point.
Okay. So what we'll do now is just let some cooldowns come back, and then we'll go for the final run. Okay. Okay, so for the last bit, we're going to have a look at full speed rotation, and I'm not going to even try. So what I'm going to do is we're going to hand over to Trash, and this is going to go through the honors of this one for you. So here you go, Trash. Do the worst.
Alright, so we'll just start off with Army of the Dead, just to get maximum single target out. Just, as I said, smashing away the obliterates that I have left. Smashing away any runic power, using Rhyme procs as and when they happen. I've now got my trinkets stacked up to 5, so I'm going to pop some cooldowns.
Okay.
And seeing as, just for the sake of demonstration, I'm also going to pop Empowered Rune Weapon just to get a little bit more bulk of DPS out. And yeah, it's really easy. I mean, it's just hit what lights up, make things go boom.
Yeah, man, that's a pretty steadily contained 30k. That's pretty good. So that's pretty good single target. Now we all know Deathknights is a pretty freaking face roller. So if you want to just head over to those 2 targets on the way down, just go.
Yep. I'm just gonna have to. My pet's gonna be killing shit, but leave him to it. Right, obviously there's only 2 targets, so it's not going to be as impressive as one might think, but I'll go over the basics of it, which is really basic. Essentially, it consists of 2 buttons, which is Howling Blast and Frost Strike. All you're going to be doing is Howling Blasting your targets until you've run out of runes, and then getting RE procs, Runic Empowerment procs, which basically gives you a full rune, by using all that runic power that you've generated on Frost Strikes, which will give you more runes to spam Howling Blast with.
But only doing 82k, that's not bad.
It's I've reset my recon, I'm only doing 20k, am I?
You're doing 30, no, you're doing 34, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pro, so.
So with that, what we'll do is that's your basic guide to Deathknights DPS. Any questions you have, feel free to leave me a comment. But thanks very much for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time. Wave.
Oh.
Wrong way, you spoon. Cheers, guys.
Wait.